the numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host Bob Zera. With me in Deadbug Studios is
Coach Nez.
Visit us at zoixonline.com, zpnetwork.com. We're on Facebook at the Nothing Shocking Podcast community fan page and the Quad Cities Rock and Roll Junkies interest group. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher. Not quite Spotify yet. Working on it. All your podcatchers, please subscribe to the show wherever you can. Rate and review the show. It does matter. It gets us noticed among all the other rock podcasts out there. We do have sponsors, but go ahead and read the sponsors, but we do want to talk about one of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have Ragged Records, Davenport, Iowa, and Rock Island, Illinois. Legends Guitar Picks out of Milan, Illinois. And RockstarPicks.rocks, Queens, New York.
But Davenport, Iowa is actually underwater right now, and Ragged Records is one of the stores hit. Luckily, I do believe they got most of their stuff out of there.
They did, I believe.
But I've seen the pictures. It's my favorite store to go to. And it sucks. So if you can, head over to the Rock Island store and support that store, that would really be greatly appreciated. I don't know how insurance works and all that stuff, and I don't know how long this flood's going to be here, but thinking about them and hoping that they can, last through this, flood. Hope all the businesses down there near them, really. It's kind of been a rough time. It's been almost 2 weeks now, or over a week.
Well, the HESCO barrier flood wall that broke down was a week ago. That was protecting a large chunk of the businesses. Gave way.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's not anytime soon. We're getting a big storm tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm. It's going to rain tonight.
Right. It's the rest of the week. We got 3 days of rain, so I don't know how much longer it's going to last. And quite frankly, I have a store right down the street that's in danger of a similar thing happening. So it's just been a rough time, and we want to, hopefully, try to support Ragged Records and the Rock Island store if you can, for the time being.
Can I interject and ask a question? A lot of our listeners are not from the Quad City area. We're on the Mississippi River between Illinois and Iowa. Where I live, Rock Island, Illinois, the city is protected by a permanent flood wall, which the Mississippi would have to get to, a ridiculous height in order to flood Rock Island again. Davenport, Iowa does not have a flood wall, and that's why Davenport, Iowa is flooded. You work in Bettendorf, Iowa. I know Bettendorf has a flood wall, but it doesn't have a flood wall to the extent of what Rock Island has, correct?
What would hit us is there is a wall, man-made wall on the street where my business is, while the water coming from Davenport.
Okay.
It's a 5.5-foot wall, and the water's at 5 feet, or at least it was last week. And it's man-made, so we could all just shoot down that street, and it would be 2 to 3 feet in the air up on and plus my parking lot's below street level.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's also high. It's almost to the top of the wall, from what I understand. All the sewers are maxed out, so it's just a rough time, and hoping it goes away soon. And obviously, if you're not from the Quad Cities, you can't go to Ragged Records. Go to your local record store and think of Ragged Records while you're there. I don't know.
Or if some of you don't realize that Ragged Records does have a store on eBay.
Oh, they do.
They do.
Know that.
So, and I don't know, with things being the way they are right now, with him having to move his inventory in like those pods units, right, or whatever it is, if he can get to his product to send it to you, if you buy it on eBay, I'm not sure, but I know he does. You can always help him out and buy something off eBay from him. So
Yeah, we'll have to look up his eBay link and put it in our show notes. Our guest this week is Joe Wood,
former lead singer of TSOL in the middle 90s. Middle 80s. Can I say that right? Into the early 90s ish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe.
No, it was another one of those. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it was a fun interview. It's another one of those where you might think I'm kissing up to the artist by buying his record while on the show, but the main reason I do it is because I'll forget after. I mean, it's just the nature of the world we live in right now. There's so much thrown in our face, and I just got it. I can't wait to listen to it. I literally got it today, so I'm looking forward to listening to it and kind of giving you we're going to have him back on. Eric and I are both going to listen to it and get him back on and tell him what we think of it, because he was very passionate about that record. And I don't want to mention much more about it now. We'll talk about it in a future show, but we talk about it later on in this podcast. And you could hear the passion in his voice for this particular record, among others, but this one specifically. And that's always exciting for me as a fan.
Yeah, for me, growing up in the middle 80s, I was going to say middle 90s again. What am I thinking?
That was me.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
middle 80s, TSOL with Joe Wood on vocals was what I listened to during that era, because that was the era of TSOL was Joe Wood. So, and it was fun, and it was loud, and it was just it was just a fun group to listen to. So it was kind of like surreal for me to talk to him.
And we never really got into it on the show, but he kind of got a rough going. I mean, he got to carry the name on for a while, and they took it away from him later on in his career. And it's kind of a rough thing to have to go through. But he's made the most of it, and he's still around. He's still doing well. He's still kicking, and that's always a good thing. And this is a very positive interview. There's no negativity on it, so I really look forward to you hearing it. I do want to say thank you to Hong Kong Sleepover. Their album is out now. We're going to have Ted on soon to talk about it. The name of their album is Butcher and Bolt. Fantastic record. Black Label Society meets Motorhead meets heavy music.
Saw them last Saturday night, and they played 10 songs off of Butcher and Bolt.
They play anything off? They don't play the whiskey song or anything?
Right now, I mean, I believe they did a couple weeks ago where they performed down at the Mound in the Village of East. That was a free show.
Depends on the environment they're playing
in. The venue, I think.
That's cool. I mean, I love it all. I mean, I've been listening to this record around the clock, and they were supporting my friend's band Northbrook, who had their record come out as well. So, I mean, maybe we'll have them on at some point, too. I don't know. It's my friend. I'll make you do it.
Absolutely. I'm in.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to having Ted back on, and check out that record. It's on Apple Music, Amazon. It's all over the place. And hopefully it literally goes all over the place sooner than later.
We got a lot of positive feedback.
It's that good. And then Chicago Open Air. I think this might be the last week I talk about it because it's coming up. System of a Down, Tool, Gojira, Ghost, In This Moment, The Cult, Code Orange, so many other bands. You heard the interview last week with Spivak. What was his name?
It was Gary.
I keep calling him Dan. And I did not cut it out of the episode. I left it in there because it was my mess up. But that was last week. But Chicago Open Air, Bridgeview, Illinois. Get your tickets. It's going to be a phenomenal show. Tool's been playing 2 new songs on the festivals they've been playing so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in Chicago in a couple weeks, May 18th and 19th.
When you talk about mess ups, we need, like, was it with Tony Kornheiser on ESPN where they have the stat guy that tells you all the mistakes you make? Because I'm pretty sure 99% of them would be on my side. They tell me all the mistakes I make on this podcast. We need a stat boy. Anybody wants to come be a stat boy?
Yeah, you can pop up at the end of the show. Here's what you did wrong on this episode. That would be pretty nice.
Nesbitt, 99%. Bob Zerl.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joe Wood's the guest, and we'll throw it to him right now.
Good night. Hey, Joe, this is Eric Nesbitt with the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Oh, dude, your number came up as private, bro.
Oh, well, this is our, what is this?
Really glad I answered it.
So, sorry about that. I introduce you to my co-host, Bob Zerl.
Man, I don't do private numbers, bro.
Well, this is our Skype number, correct, Bob?
Right, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, hey, I want to introduce you to
Glad you called back, though.
Yeah, I'm glad we did too. Introduce you to my co-host, Bob Zerl.
Hey, how are you doing?
How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good.
Well, we're really excited to have you on the podcast tonight. I want to tell you that I discovered Joe Wood during your era of TSOL. So as a kid, the TSOL that I heard was Joe Wood on vocals. I had never heard the Jack Grisham stuff because when I discovered you guys, it was 1985 or something like that. So
yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into all that, so I've observed on social media that you've recently performed a catalog of TSOL songs live that you've been playing.
I did.
Yeah. Can you give us
That was.
Go ahead.
That was the weirdest thing.
Can you give us a little rundown of what was the inspiration behind that, and is this something you're going to do in the future?
I waited a long time to do this, and I knew that these songs meant a lot of the people that grew up with that soundtrack in their head, and I just didn't want it. I just didn't want it to seem like I was, trying to live off of the TSOL name. I wanted to do my other stuff for, it's been a long time, like 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
Now I've occasionally done something like this, and it's always been really good. But I finally got the right band together and decided to go ahead, and it's called Change Today. It's just a project that we're just going to go ahead and do the stuff that my catalog when my time was with them. It doesn't say, it's not like it is TSOL because it's certainly not. They're out there doing great, but it's me singing those songs, that I wrote and that I helped write,
Absolutely. And as we were talking before we lost you on your connection was, I discovered TSOL with you during your time on lead vocals at that time. I guess the question I have now is that that being said, your vocals when you came into TSOL, you brought a different style to that band. Obviously the band changed sonically around your vocals. Was that a concerted effort that you guys wanted to maybe change the sound of the band?
Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't going to be TSOL. Here's what happened is I was already done with punk rock at that point in my life because of the bands that were playing with the punk bands. When I started, Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs and the Blasters, and even James Harmon, a lot of those bands played, along next to the Go-Go's and Black Flag and X, there was a lot of, there was the rockabilly and blues was played alongside on the same bill as the punk bands. And I just kind of went that route. You know what I mean? I went kind of the rockabilly and blues route because I wanted to get better on my instrument. And I'd already done punk rock with a band called Der Straub, and then Ron started coming in and sitting in with me when TSOL broke up, and he was playing in my little blues band at parties and bowling alleys and shit. And then Roach started coming around, and he said, "Let's start a new band and have Joe sing." So that's what we did, and we looked for drummers, and in the meantime we were writing all those songs, and then Mitch came in. He decided to be our drummer, and then the manager, Mike Verini, came in, their old manager, who was their manager of the Dead Kennedys, and said, "Let's call it TSOL, and I'll get you guys a record deal, and we'll go on tour with Dead Kennedys, tomorrow." And I wasn't even paying attention to that, to be honest with you. I was kind of just a little drug addict, snotty kid, and I certainly didn't have any input in that area. I didn't care either way. I didn't know what I was getting into, obviously, because kids taking Jack Grisham's place is something that nobody ever wants to do. I believe, take it from me, It took a couple of years. It took a couple of years of battling with audiences and stuff. So there was no effort or anything. I just did what I did. You know what I mean? I just like to write songs, and Ron certainly wrote all the great guitar hooks and a lot of the music to these songs. And we were a good writing team. We certainly were. I mean, it was magical between all four of us. It really was. And the fact that we called it TSOL, that's a mixed bag for me. It truly is, and probably for them too, because nobody gets to hear any of those songs at a TSOL concert, and they didn't get to hear Code Blue when I was singing.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess when something like that takes place, when you're convinced to use an old band name such as TSOL,
yeah.
as a younger person at the time, how much pressure did you feel having to lug that name around with you when you're not?
I didn't feel any.
No?
I didn't feel any because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? I knew that I was good. I mean, I was a cocky kid, you know what I mean? And I thought I could handle anything. I wasn't afraid of anything, that's for sure. I'd been on the street since I was 13 years old. I didn't really give a shit about anything. Me and my brother and my sister were, I stayed at my friend Perry's house. I stayed at friends' house most of my life. I had a lot of other people raising me as a child. So I was pretty tough as far as my skin went. And then once I got up there and started singing and started touring and stuff, and I found out, that people wanted to kill me because I wasn't Jack. Then I just got tougher and I got madder, and I just, I actually just dug in more.
Go ahead, Bob.
Did that experience where it got tougher, like that, did that help you for when, you started to have success and then record labels want you to sound a certain way and all the pressures of the industry after that? Was that helpful in a lot of ways?
Well, it was helpful in a lot of ways because I just, like I said, I just got tougher and I got madder and I dug in more and I just wrote better songs, and it just made me more, try harder. And Ron and Roach always had my back, and we were a club and we were a team, and we thought that was going to be forever. We certainly didn't. We split everything 4 ways. I didn't know. Nobody could see the future. That's for sure. Jack didn't want to have anything to do with TSOL. Todd didn't want to have anything to do with TSOL. And so it was what it was. It took about a year of constant touring to get our own audience, or a year and a half, and then after that, it was easy going. But and then that's just what happened. I just didn't know any better. I didn't know that. Even to this day, it's still kind of two camps. You know what I mean?
As this past week, obviously, when getting ready to do a podcast for myself, I always try to listen to the artist's stuff. And I have all your stuff from the TSOL days that I love listening to. And we have, and I always go to record stores on the weekends, and the guys in the record stores always ask me, who do you have this week? And, so I spoke about, you're coming on the podcast, and they were talking about your vocals, and your voice is very unique. And obviously you gave the band a very unique sound, totally opposite of what Jack did during his time back in the 80s or so forth. But we were talking, I said, they were talking about comparing people's vocals to what you do. And I said, there's really no comparison, how your vocals was to compare.
No, there's not.
There's really no comparison. Now, I have to tell you, I've noticed that over the years, I've noticed vocalists try to copy what you did as a singer. Do you take that?
It's better because no, I'm totally flattered because, I did not know how to sing when I first started singing, when I was young. And, I was a huge Doors fan, and I was almost tone deaf. I had to copy somebody to learn how to sing. And, I tried to copy Jim Morrison. I don't think I sound anything like him. Nothing like him. I mean, I think he's a great vocalist, one of the all-time best in the world. And that's how I wanted to sing. But I wasn't good enough to do that, but it came out a different way. And, people did compare me to that, which I'm flattered by that. And of course, anytime anybody copies anything of mine, I'm flattered by that. That's just a compliment.
We have had many artists that have come on the podcast, and I've asked them that same question. Most artists find it to be flattering that, they try to, I don't know, maybe mimic, but I don't know, try to follow that style.
Influenced by. Yeah,
influence.
Exactly, yeah.
For artists that take it as copycatism, or they take offense to it, where's your rebuttal towards that?
That's funny. That's funny. You know, let a dude eat light. Don't take yourself so seriously. You know what I mean? Like, God, really, dude. You know what? The thing about Ron is, go ahead and try to copy him. I mean, that guy was a genius on the guitar. You know, he was a Jimi Hendrix of punk rock. That's for sure. I mean, he was phenomenal. As far as yeah, people that Ron was an original from the very, very beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jack was too. You know, I wasn't so much. I was more of I was probably more of a follower than any kind of leader as far as that goes. You know what I mean? No, the songwriting part. I was good at that, I thought.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Bob.
In terms of, you mentioned the Doors, being one of the influences. What, I'm always interested in how someone gets, from their influences to where they end up as an artist. What was kind of the process to get from the Doors to punk to, then the rockabilly to, where were some of your influences to get there? Can you kind of take us down that trek of how you got to where you ended up?
Yeah, because for me, the punk rock Morrison was the biggest. He was punk rock as you could be punk rock. You know what I mean? When punk rock came out, I was playing a tiny little bit of guitar, and we went and saw the Germs and a couple other bands at the Mask in like 1976 or 77, probably 77, and it was 77. It was the second Mask, and I turned to my friend. I go, shit, I could play that, man. I forget what they were playing, but. And we started a band the next day. I went and bought an electric guitar. We bought an amp and we started a band the next day. And then as that went, we played around with, a lot of bands and stuff and, in LA. And then, like I said, punk rock to me begins and ends with Iggy Pop, period, and I just wanted to get better on my instrument. In order to do that, as I was watching some of the, like the Stray Cats or, Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs, or Hollywood Fats with James Harmon and Kid Ramos. I mean, those were the guys I just automatically went to. I enjoyed watching them and learning from them how to play my instrument. So the next step was to start a band like that, and that's what I did. And it was called Joe Wood and the Loners, and that's the band that Ron started coming in and sitting in with us at, and then the whole TSOL thing came about.
When you talk about punk, it started with an attitude, then it became a genre. Whenever a piece of music gets labeled as something, what are your feelings with that? Because to me, it's like I was talking to a friend.
That sucks.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today about he's a big emo guy, which I'm not a fan of, but it doesn't really matter. Usually, there's with any genre, there's like 5 bands that start doing something that's kind of similar, but not really. You just can't really define it. Then you throw a label on it, and 15 bands come out afterwards copying it. And I was just kind of wondering your opinion on, labeling.
Yeah, there's a whole genre. What bummed me out, what really bummed me out is when, grunge came out like a totally original thing, original sound, original look, everything, To circle back to punk rock the way it did with Green Day and that kind of, Blink 182 and stuff, that was just a big fat bummer to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, really now it's pop. You know what I mean? And, I like the days when, Mike Ness had to hitchhike around and nobody wanted to hear fucking SD. You know what I mean? Or when I was, hitchhiking around and nobody, that was punk. You know what I mean? That was, when nobody likes you, but you're still just doing what you do. I mean, it's easy to be a punk rock when you're riding around in a fucking bus, Jesus, who wouldn't, So, and then that just brought on a bunch of another very light, kind of bubblegum, songs that, poppy songs, which, pop is the most popular form of genre of music there is. And jazz is probably got the smallest audience, which is the pinnacle of being a musician. You know what I mean? So those are my feelings on it. The better you get and stay true to yourself, the smaller your audience becomes.
Did you ever feel, like you said, you want to be better at your instrument? Did you ever feel pressure from the punk crowd, or were you just done with it and didn't even care at that point?
No, never. I did not at all. I was so into what I was doing, and I played in order to learn how to play the blues. I played happy hour at Blue Cafe from 5:30 to 9 on Monday night, the worst position and I paid these really good blues guys to teach me how to, to play blues, and it worked, and I'm happy doing that for the rest of my life. Not just blues, but kind of Americana and Delta, and I've learned all kinds of styles of American music, Appalachian, and that's the kind of stuff that really turns me on. It truly does. Now, after playing, doing this, all those old TSOL songs again, that when I was in TSOL or whatever with this Change Today project, obviously my songwriting starts getting harder, and I start feeling more, more amped up and writing harder music. That's something that happens to me if I start performing that kind of music. It just gets into me,
Well, I guess that leads in the perfect question that I had for you is, what you do now with Joe Wood and the Lonely Ones is totally different than what, you did with TSOL. When it comes to, writing music now for, what you're doing in the now,
yeah.
Is it something that you try to stay away from that TSOL sound as much as you possibly can, or does it really matter?
Yeah, I don't try. Yeah, I don't try at all. It's not a try thing. It's just kind of, it's almost like, look, I write literally almost, 5 to 8 hours a day. I write, you know what I mean? And, like a job, and I enjoy doing that. And sometimes I write songs, and a lot of times I write stories or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not a try thing. It's kind of like what is it? What inspires me now, is like Townes Van Zandt, Steve Earle, George Jones. Talk about punk. George Jones was a fucking punk rocker, and so it's not a matter of, there's no thought process in it at all. Just like when we started doing, after the other night and during rehearsals, when I started playing all those old TSOL songs, I instantly started writing songs, that I was inspired in those, and with those guitar chords and that sound,
Absolutely.
A lot of artists.
Have you ever heard the
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I want to hear what you're.
Have you ever heard the Cisco Poison record that I made? I made it in 1993.
I have not.
It's the best record I've ever made. It's really the only record that I'm truly, truly, truly proud of. If you can find it on Amazon or whatever. But every song on there. This is right after TSOL, and I took everything I had learned from Ron and my experience and put it on one record. And I think it's got 11 songs of just. I think it's the best stuff that I've ever wrote, ever, even to this day. It is the best. Nobody's ever heard it, and I may put it re-release it with the band that I have now. You know what I mean? Just as Changed Today, because the record company went defunct. Right after we got signed, and it's a good, really good record. And then give me a call after you listen to that, because I think you'll like it.
Absolutely.
What was it? Is it called It's a Long Way to Heaven?
It's called yes, that's it. That's the one. Yeah.
As we're going,
and there's
as we're on our smartphones looking it up right now. So,
well, I might be.
Okay.
I'm buying it right now.
So
sorry.
I guess here as Bob's gonna buy it right now. I wanted to go into the
next. Thank you, Bob.
So the Lonely Ones, is that your predominant with the project that you're working with mostly right now, or is it you're just kind of all over the board?
You know what? The Lonely Ones, what that is that's a band that we it's a bar band, and that's something that's what I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? I enjoy playing 5 or 6 times a month just around my house. I don't really enjoy traveling anymore. I like where I live, and I have a really nice home on the beach in Encinitas, and well, it's a mobile home. I'm not rich or anything like that, but I live in a really good place. You know what I mean? In a good spot, and I'm really happy here. And it's just I can play whatever I want at these places. A lot of times, I was playing in a little biker bar the other day, and somebody requested some Red Shadows and stuff like that. I'll play a couple of those every now and then. But I enjoy playing in a bar band. I truly do.
As far as the stuff that you've created, is a lot of stuff I've kind of searched for and I can't find it as far as a tangible copy. When you're releasing music now, are you predominantly doing the download and streaming thing than trying to sell the physical copy, or where are you at right now in sales?
I do both. But sometimes I miss the mark. My last record, Into Deep, I just sold them at shows. Which you make a lot of money like that. I mean, with the whole internet thing, I mean, that's changed the whole dynamic of any kind of music and getting paid and all that stuff. Lucky, I've been lucky with the stuff that I'm on Enigma Records. That was all done very professionally, and we had production companies and all that stuff, so we get royalties for that, and from all over the world, and for soundtracks and all kinds of stuff. But with my stuff, with the Lonely Ones, I just basically, it's really a big deal just to go from your head into practice, and then into to make a CD, to get it all the way to the end. That's for somebody like me, that's not it's expensive, and it's hard to get it all the way to the CD thing. And the Cisco Poison one is the only one that I truly feel that we hit we really hit the mark. On the Lonely One stuff, I haven't done it yet, but maybe I will, or someday. But I have another record all written now, and it's more like a folky Steve Earle kind of stuff. So,
very cool.
We'll see what happens with that. But right now, it's about change today. I mean, I can't do two things at once, apparently. I can't. I mean, I was like, I can't. And I truly, I feel like it's a step backwards for me to go bit back out and really do. But I'm doing this for the people that want to hear it, and they do. There are people that want to hear it. I couldn't believe that the show was sold out the other day, and I was just blown away by that.
We talked kind of about how the industry today versus when you were coming up, in terms of like the way media works, back in the 70s and even into the 80s a little bit, it was more mysterious, and you didn't really necessarily know about your bands. You knew kind of headlines and magazines and stuff, but now today with social media, you know everything about everybody, which in a way is neat because you have the access to them, but at the same time you lose that mystery. I guess as a fan and as an artist, where do you stand on the differences? We lost him.
You're gonna have to piece this together like a puzzle. You do realize that. Is he calling us?
Oh, you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Hello? God, I'm so sorry about that, man. That is just the weirdest thing.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah, more than you know.
So yeah, I was listening to about where the way the social media is today.
I guess today it's more, you have more access to the artists, but you lose that mystery. So I can see the good in it, but I also see the bad in it. As a fan and as an artist, I guess, kind of where do you prefer? Do you prefer the mystery, or do you kind of prefer the access to the artists?
No, here's the thing about first of all, the access that you have, a lot of it is bullshit, and like that Wikipedia thing, like I didn't write that. Whoever wrote that, didn't know what they were talking about, first of all. And secondly, I've tried to go in and change some of the things, that are false. I can't seem to do that. So first of all, they're getting false information a lot of times.
Right.
Second of all, everybody's getting so much information so fast that they don't have time to let it even sink into their soul at all. They just move on to the next thing. I mean, it's like everybody has ADD, when it comes, yeah, I like that song, but listen to this one. Yeah, I like this song, but listen, Right. So it never really gets in there, like it used to. When I had to learn a David Bowie song, I had a record and I had to put it on, 1,000 times. My record would be ruined by the time I learned the song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was the only way you could learn it.
Yeah,
There's no YouTube or anything.
Yeah, it sucks now. What I even with any kind of art, movies, TV, whatever, it's so disposable. You don't. I go back and I watch my favorite movies over and over again. I listen to my favorite records still. The new ones, I'll listen to them once or twice, and then I'm outside of like Slash. He's kind of the only one I keep listening to now. His new song. Yeah. But
another thing is that I realized, doing this thing is that, because I was playing, 3 weeks ago, and for 4 people and the bartender in my shows, and I'm fine with that. I truly am. But and then I go to do this Change Today TSOL stuff, and it's sold out, and it I mean, what do you do with that? Now, did I get that horrible over the years? No. What happened is the music and movies and things that inspired us when we were young meant so much more, as a child before, or as a teenager before, the world took over on us and jaded us and made us, parents or whatever happened to us, to where other things became more important than music,
I kind of I wanted to touch upon what you said before about, back to the sales thing about, you produced the CD but you only sold it at shows, but you made pretty good money on it. Okay, so I was at a show, I don't know, probably about 3 weeks ago, and it was probably 100 people. It was a small club there, and the people are walking out of the show with merch. I mean, albums, CDs. They had the gamut, and they're walking out of it, with arms full of the stuff. Spending hundreds of dollars. Okay, so if they can sell it at a show, if it's still tangible and buyable at a show, why is the physical copy not? People are not interested in going into the record store anymore and buying them, or at the what used to be a Best Buy or a Circuit City or something like that.
They don't have to. They don't have to.
Right.
It's just that simple. They don't have to. They don't have to leave their house. They can sit there and order it online, and somebody will bring it in the mail the next day. Amazon will have it at your house, the next day or whatever.
And like you
the
said,
register, that's a bummer. It's a the whole thing is a bummer, and that there's a whole part of it that is just a big mixed bag.
And like you said earlier, we all have ADD. It's in one ear and out the other. Like literally, if I hadn't bought it just now, I might forget about it by the end of the interview. I mean, that's kind of why.
I know. Me too.
And that's why I try to.
Right, but here, I guess maybe that, and Bob can interject on this. But I mean, if people are going to a show and shoveling out hundreds of dollars to buy everybody's vinyl,
right, face is right there.
But okay,
that's
my thought on it. I don't know.
Is that your thought too, Joe?
What? Say that again.
Well, like I said, to narrow it down, it was I went to go see Ryan Roxy and a couple other artists, and they were selling merchandise. As far as Ryan Roxy was selling his vinyl, different versions of his vinyl. He was selling the CD version. The other artists there, they were selling their CD or whatever else they had, shirts and whatever. Okay, they're buying it. They're not ordering it. They're buying it right there. I know it's right in their face, but sooner or later you're going to go to a store and it's going to be in your face there too. I guess what's the difference?
No, they get caught up. They get caught up in the whole. Anytime it's just like church or when 50 people watch the sunset, or when 50 people watch a band, you get caught up in that group. Mm-hmm. That there's an energy that happens that that's why I sell so many CDs at my shows. People get caught up in the songs and then they just want it right there. They want to take it home with them, And when a group of people do that, the energy is like tripled or doubled or whatever,
No, I agree completely. This whole having these conversations every week, there's an energy having a conversation, talking to an artist, and that for me at least, and that's kind of you hear something I haven't heard yet. They're clearly passionate about it. I want to hear this. I don't care, even if it's not my genre, which this happens to be. I want that passion I can hear in his voice is what makes me want to. I want to at least try this out, because it's usually when you can tell someone has a passion for something, there's just a magic with that art that goes with it too. That's what did it for me in terms of right now. But an hour later, I got to go to my son's baseball game and everything's gone.
I'm with you on that. 100%. That's what it is. Back in the old, the olden times, it was, it took a lot to save up for a record, and it took, and you had the whole experience right there with the album cover, and and the radio was different back then. You know what I mean? It was very uplifting and exciting, and fast. I was raised on 93 KHJ. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I mean, it was like AM, and it was just crazy. It was like the radio would get you so fired up, just skateboarding or whatever you were doing, and to go out and save for that record was a big deal. These days, I mean, it's nothing. You can go buy a song for 99 cents or something.
Right.
Yeah. I've never done it before. I always buy the tangible copy.
I'll admit I've never bought a song. I've bought albums digitally, but then I'll go out and buy the vinyl too. So I'm double dipping. But
it's just like we went on the other day at 11:15, and you wouldn't believe, including me, how many people were bummed that we were going on that late. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm not 17 or 18 or 20 anymore. You know, I mean, you know, to sit through 2 punk rock bands before, you know, seeing my stuff, I felt bad for them. I mean, the bands were good; they were great, but still, you know, it was hard on a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't come because of that. You know, because it was just too late for them. As being a 60 fan of you know, Joe Wood or whatever, or those songs even.
You know, we talk about here in our area. We're right on the Illinois-Iowa border, and through the Mississippi Valley, and you know, at one time we had a really vibrant scene here, and where we had a lot of artists, and we had a lot more locations to play at. We had we have the Civic Center, but we had like a lot of. I shouldn't say a lot. That's not fair.
We had ballrooms.
We had ballrooms. Yeah, fair enough.
And whatnot.
Yeah. And so what we had is no longer, because 2 of the places shut down. Palmer Auditorium is no longer, and the Call Ballroom closed down as well. And people just don't come out to the shows here like they used to, and people will say, well, the reason why they don't come out to shows is because there's so many other things to do. Well, isn't going to a show something to do?
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's all about the internet and stuff like that. You know, they'll sit home and watch it on YouTube. You know, why, or on Facebook or on a blog or whatever. Why do they have to go out and spend their money? You know, that's one thing. And then another, I don't know, you haven't brought this up yet, but I certainly wanted to bring it up, is something that I truly think is just a detriment to everything. There's 2 things. One is playing for free. You know, a band that plays for free, that drives me batshit, because why hire me when, you know, that'd be like, you know, you need a plumber and you're going to pay the guy, you know, $200-300 come fix your plumbing, and some guy comes in and says, I'll do it for free. Why would you pay, you know? Why would you? Bands that play for free are ruining, they're hurting themselves. And the other one is this so-called tribute band, where, you know, they're paying tribute to the artist. That is just so much fucking bullshit. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy that they have found a way to paint by numbers and make money off of other people's art like that. And I've had experiences where, you know, the Belly Up is a really good venue here, and it's very hard to get into. And they called me up, said, Joe, somebody canceled. We want you to play here. A tribute band canceled. Yeah, I said, I'll be there Sunday. I call up the band. Everybody's all excited. They call me back 2 hours later, say, oh, we got another tribute band. Never mind. You know, I mean, that stuff really, that's just not, it's not right. You know, they're not paying anybody to do that. They're making money off of T-shirts, everything. And, you know, the artists aren't, and then they're taking up time on stage for anybody that's doing anything new or original.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we see it all the time here. Yeah. All the time.
I hope you guys aren't in tribute bands.
No.
No. That's
good.
Those
are quiet there for a minute.
No, because we both looked at each other and shaking our heads, because we have a few cover/tribute bands here, or whatever you want to call them.
There's a Zeppelin tribute band playing.
They're cover
theater.
bands, and that's okay. Yeah. Call yourself a cover band. I have no problem with that, and play like a few different bands, but to actually act like somebody and dress up like somebody,
right,
like the fucking Beatlemania and shit. That is baloney. I mean, and then for bands that are still alive, they're doing it. Like they have Aerosmith tribute band. I mean, that is like, those guys had their time. They had a blast, you know, and we have the records to remember them by. We don't have to you know, they are taking up the venue space, man, for really talented young artists.
And I don't understand, like, how some of these, like Bob just said, how some of these tribute bands, they're playing our local civic center, and people are showing up for it. I mean, we're talking
I did a manifesto on Facebook about that. I mean, I seriously, one night, I was so pissed. It was right after that thing happened to me at the Belly Up. And I did a 9-page part 1, too, by the way. I'm going to do another about how not only are the tribute bands to blame, but the fans, and how shallow that is, you know, and how silly they are. And, you know, or another thing is, like, you know, guys that are, the guys that are playing for free, you know, they're like cops or doctors or lawyers, and then them and their buddies, you know, they get a band together and they're playing, you know, a couple of originals and some covers, and playing for free, you know, with their moms and their girlfriends down there, and driving around Beamers, and, you know, I mean, guys like me, we need to play, and we need to play for money. You know what I mean? You know, this is what I do for a living, and you know, and you know, we sacrifice a lot to be who we are. You know what I mean? And those people, that drives me fucking bananas, you know. But why hire me when those guys will play for free?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. I got one more question for you because we're running out of our allotted time. So
I apologize.
No. This has been fantastic. But I wanted to kind of throw you a curveball question because I like to do that to all of our guests toward the end. So the Joe Wood, TSOL Joe Wood, is, like I said, is what I got into. This is how I discovered TSOL first, was with you on vocals. So the question I have to ask is, out of the discography of TSOL with Joe Wood as lead singer, what was your favorite album and what was your least favorite album from that era?
Well, my first is my favorite and the last is my least favorite, you know. The way that took place too, you know, like from Hit and Run, and I like Hit and Run, but they started doing that 80s snare stuff right then. You know, I wasn't leading the band at that point. I was following, you know, the other guys in the band, you know, the big hair and all that stuff. And I was so strung out on heroin, I didn't really notice. But we had people that dressed us and stuff like that. But, you know, that wasn't my idea. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, because I'm the singer, like I was leading the band. You know, I couldn't lead Mike and Ron into any direction they didn't want to go into. You know what I mean? They're just too strong personality. And Roach was kind of the leader of the band as far as I was concerned. So, you know, I think that I'm really disappointed with Strangelove. The songs on there are great, and they got ruined by the producer. Mm-hmm. It was all coked up and just did that big 80s crap. It really bummed me out. And just Marshall Roner was a very talented guitar player that played on there, and he made him play stuff that, you know, he should have never played on. But, you know, that's where I stand. The first album is my favorite, and the last album is my least favorite.
Well, you made that real simple. My favorite album is Revenge. I'm just going to let you know. So.
Thank you. No, and I like Revenge quite a bit too. But if I have to pick one, because I have the experience of writing those songs for the first time with those guys, and that was magical. It truly was. You know, getting together with Mike and Ron and being in Mitch and you know, just something new and exciting. It was when we practiced. It was truly, there was a thing in the air that was just, it was awesome.
Absolutely.
It was something. So that was brand new. So that's why that has a lot to do with my favorite.
Well, I tell you why Revenge was my favorite, because the intro to No Time just hooked.
We were just talking about, my guitar player was just over here 10 minutes before you called. And that intro to No Time, Ron, that's amazing. That is just amazing.
Yeah, it was absolutely, it sucked me in as a kid. I was just totally enamored by that. The only thing else I can compare, even though the songs are, the structure is totally different for intro, is the first time I heard Louder Than Love by Soundgarden, the intro to that.
Oh, yeah.
Both those songs just kind of captivated me, and they don't sound, the intros sound nothing like to each other.
But that they hit it. They obviously strike a nerve somewhere in there that has the same nerve.
Right.
You know, I wanted to tell you, in No Time, as I was looking it up, you know, trying to remember the words that I had written 35 years ago or whatever it was, I noticed on YouTube there was somebody put like a yoga music behind, and those lyrics come up, and behind it is like, you know, Deepak Chopra world yoga music. It was hilarious, dude. I've never seen anything like that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Well, here's how it's going to work. We have a couple interviews that we need to release before yours, so we're looking at about 2 weeks, and then Bob will edit this because we need to edit it quite a bit, obviously, because of all the
cuss words. Right? Yeah. I apologize.
No, not the cuss words.
We leave all those.
Yeah, we leave those in. We just all
the phone dropping out.
Yeah, right. So no cuss words. You're fine. Before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to plug or promote that's kind of happen in the future here, so we can kind of put that out here in about 2 weeks?
Well, yeah, I want you and your listeners. I want you guys to hear that. I want you guys to hear that a Cisco Poison thing, which nobody's ever heard before, ever. You know what I mean? Like, only a few of my friends have heard that. And I want you to I want the fans, and I want you or the people that you know and fans of you guys to let me know what they think of that, about those songs. And because I'm seriously thinking about, you know, re-releasing that on some level or something. So,
well,
that'd be awesome.
What we can do is that could be Bob and I's homework assignment here the next few weeks, and we can listen to it. And what are your thoughts about maybe coming back on to do an intro with us for a different episode with a different artist? You can just we can call you up and talk about that as our intro.
Oh, I would love that.
Would that be cool?
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. I just really, I'm at a new phase in my life where, you know, I'm really starting to enjoy things, and well, like I said, not take myself too seriously.
All right. Well,
So I appreciate it.
yeah. Let's do that. Let's we'll have this thing edited in about 2 weeks, and then let me get a hold of you. Maybe toward the end of May or something like that, and we can have you come back on and do an intro with us for whatever artist that is going to be coming out that next week or whatever.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything.
Hey, you've been
Thanks, Bob.
You've been fantastic.
This has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
guys.
hey, I have to pinch myself a little bit. I talked to the guy that I discovered TSOL vocals with, so it's been fantastic.
Oh, that's not. No, yeah, I'll do it again. If you guys want anything or need, we'll talk later, Eric. You can give me your address. I'll send you whatever you want.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Take her easy.
Okay.
All right.
You
Bye-bye.
got it. Bye. Good night, you guys.
Today's the day the boat comes in and we all go out to sea. Everyone kisses their wife goodbye for a drink along the way. We all go door to door with a shot glass in our hand. And by the time we reach the boat, none of us can stand. Tommy is a good wife, he don't want to let her go. The last time he went to sea, she did things he doesn't know. She started a special service and was popular in town. And every time the men showed up, her trousers were down. Oh, stagger, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Crawl, crawl, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Fall down with a glass in your hand, you better get up and drink. Stagger, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. But he tends to him like a sheep, he don't want to say goodbye. He spends a wee bit of time with them away from bright eyes. You hear them bleat their tune out, and each one sounds so dear. And when he comes out from behind the barn, he's smelling from ear to ear. Oh, stagger, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Crawl, crawl, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Fall down with a glass in your hand, you better get up and drink. Stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Nicky's got him an ugly woman, she's only got one tooth. She runs the house with an iron fist, it's she who rules the roost. She broke his leg and burned his clothes and starved his little cat. So the last time he came home from sea, he gave his wife the clap. Oh, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Crawl, stagger, crawl, stagger, drink. Fall down with a glass in your hand, you better get up and drink. Stagger, crawl, stagger, drink.
Cool, is that Mickey? What's the matter, bloke? We got a paper balloon. I think it needs another cigarette.
Give a smoke. Go!
Goddamn Hong Kong sleepover. What the shit was that? You can't even end a song without some kind of distorted shit. You once were a solid band. What the hell is going on? But now you can't even finish a fucking song. It's amazing people even come to hear your shows. You guys suck. You're the kind of band that have a Velvet on Elvis on your fucking studio. You know that son of a bitch died eating a fried peanut butter banana sandwich while taking a dump? Yeah, that's what I think of your music. Oh, welcome to Planet Piss in the fucking Hong Kong sleepover. Jesus Christ, why don't you go duck somebody's head in a bucket of water and hit them from behind? Kiss my ass. You pieces of shit. You suck. Absolutely horrible. Nobody likes your music. It's time for you people to go away. Get the fuck off my obstacle. You fucking people don't understand the worst thing about a goddamn piece of music. You understand me, you throw off no good sons of bitches. Fuck you.